Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin and today it is time for my monthly palette ranking. So today's video is going to be all of the palettes that I used in the month of June and ranking them from worst to best. So if that sounds good to you, keep on watching. Before we get too far into the video, if you have not already, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I upload videos twice a week. It's totally free to subscribe. And I would love to have you back again on the channel and chat with you in the comments. I'm also very close to hitting my next giveaway. When I hit 550 subscribers, I will be doing a giveaway, so stay tuned for that as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into the ranking. So this month, I think I used more palettes than I've ever used in a month. If not pretty close, and I think that's just simply because school is out, so I have time to play with my makeup more, do what I want, and not just be like hurry, hurry, hurry out the door, use whatever is there right quick. So this is the very bottom, and this is the Makeup Revolution Emily Edit the Once palette in collaboration with Emily Noel. This palette's okay. It's honestly not terrible quality. The mattes are very creamy in mine. This was a bit of a controversy. I feel like when it came out with the formula, some people loved it, some people hated it. A lot of people said there were inconsistencies in the palettes. I just have this on the bottom because I just feel like it's so dated, if that makes any sense at all. And not even necessarily the color story, but just the formula. Like the formulas now are so much better than what was available back when this came out that, yeah, it's just like a throwback at this point. And the quality's not bad. I wore this the last time I was out at some graduation parties and it wore really well. And I didn't even use glitter primer, which I'm sure would make the shimmers even glitzier because they are ultimately the most pathetic part of the palette is the shimmers. They're not bad, like crumbly or anything. They're just not super impressive. So I don't declutter things. If you're newer to my channel, for my collection, I spend money on pretty much everything in my collection. Sometimes I'm lucky enough to get things sent to me, but I don't really declutter. It's just I probably won't reach for it as often, but I did just to kind of compare it to the newer formulas that come out now. Next up, another one that is an older formula. I feel like Morphe hasn't updated their formula, right? It's probably been the same that it has been. Again, this one I actually wore, and this is gonna make this one a bit of a special palette. I wore this when I went and picked out my wedding venue. So here it is, and this one's just ranked out higher because I do actually really like the highlighter formula. This Nova kind of pinky, like blush choppery highlighter, I really, really like. And I do like Aries, this kind of like green brown duochrome in here. Everything else performed fine. There's no problems with it. Again, it's just not a super impactful, impressive formula in my mind. So again, we'll be keeping it, but those were definitely the bottom when it came to this month. Next up, the Naked palette. I used this after I did my Palette of Shame little mini series. I'll leave those videos linked if you haven't seen them. And I played with this half. I haven't gotten into the blues too much or the periwinkles, but again, Urban Decay, I just feel like they are dated in the sense that they haven't updated their formulas to keep up with the new and the great things that indie brands are coming out with. I'm wearing an indie brand palette that I'll talk about on my eyes today. That just blows this formula out of the water. Yet another one that it's like not terrible. All of these are totally workable, but all of these are palettes I would say so far that if for some reason they disappeared from my collection tomorrow, I probably wouldn't be too sad. Like I would get over it pretty quickly. The next one is no different. The next one is the ABH Curly Bible palette. Now this one I would say formula wise is better than the others I have listed so far, especially if you pair it with a glitter primer. Some of these shimmers are getting more into those reflective type shimmers that a lot of the indie brands are doing now, even though they're not really duochromes per se. They do have some fun different multicolor reflect, like this one, Mandala, I think is how you say it. It is kind of like a pinky purpley bluey shifting looking shade, so we're getting a little more special, a little more fancy. So this one is a bit higher. It's still mainly like a neutral palette. It has a few pops, which I don't mind. but it's just still not as impressive as some of the others I tried. Next up from Aether Beauty is their Moonlight Crystal palette. I honestly expected not to like this one when I tried it, just because a lot of the shades looked very satin leaning instead of a matte or a shimmer. But when I used it, I actually really enjoyed it. I do really like purples and greens, so that drew me to this palette initially, and the fact that I paid $7 for it at TJ Maxx. This brand did announce their closing, so I'm not sure if there are any of these left or not, but I did really enjoy the quality of it. It's just not rated any higher because it was still somewhat satiny, and while I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, it still isn't my favorite formula of the things I tried this month. Next up, we have one from Colourpop, and this is just a little baby one I got called Never Tore Us Apart. It is a quad, but I decided to include it because none of these are things I would really use as blush or bronzer or any sort of little face palette or multi-purpose. It really is an eyeshadow or a pressed powder palette. It's got 2 mattes and 2 shimmers. I used all of these when I did this look. Maybe you could get away with this one as a highlight, but it is pretty gold. For me at least, it would probably leave a cast. But I used all 4 of these. It's rated so highly because the quality is very, very good, but I couldn't rate it any higher just because of the limitations of a quad. But this is a really nice one if you want like a one-trick pony easy look, and maybe you have brown eyes like me and green looks good on you. This one was great quality. Next up is the one I'm wearing on my eyes today. This is from Saints, Angels, Sinners, and it is the Xanadu palette. This is a 9-pan, and I would try to show it to you. It was fine when I used it, but I think I just dropped it when I was organizing my thoughts. And I unfortunately have shattered dreams a little bit here, which is one of the 2 shades I featured on my eyes today. I really like this 80s shade down here. To you, it looks kind of copper brown, but it has a green flip. That's what I'm wearing in the front portion of my eye. And then I wore dreams out here on the rest of the eye. Just looked like a really cool, fun, different, unique color story to me. I like that it's green and purple. They are kind of muted, like off in between colors, you know, not like bright green or bright purple. So that really drew me to that palette. And yeah, I'm enjoying the look that I created with it. Super sparkly, but they are like pretty sheer shimmers. And this is them just on eyeshadow primer. I did not use a glitter primer, so they might even be able to be amped up even more if you really wanted that. A random cat hair on my nose. Comes with the territory of owning 3 cats, you guys. Next up from Adept Cosmetics is the Ninhydrin palette. I pulled this out a few more times. I always like forget about this palette. I think it's just the blues, but the more and more I look at this, I realize like, yes, they're blue, but they're like purple blue. So I really should reach for them more because the shimmer formula is my favorite shimmer formula of all brands of all time from Adept Cosmetics at this point. So it's color story wise just not higher, but the formula is supreme. Out to the top 6, and I would say this is to the point now in the ranking where these are palettes that I would want to buy again if something happened to them, if they were gone, if they went missing, if they were destroyed, whatever. These are the 6 that I would say I would want to repurchase and have them because I like them that much. The others, some of them I like certain things about them, but I could probably live without them, but these are kind of my must-haves in the top 6 here. So from Adept Cosmetics, again, the Amunet New. This one, I just like how it has a bit of a grungier color story. Not sure if they have this one anymore. I believe they were discontinuing it, but I don't know if they've run out of their stock yet or not. But if you do have it, here's your reminder to pull it out. And if you don't, maybe just your reminder for like some of these like, I don't know, earthy grungy greens, like mossy shades I really like. And I like the fact that they paired it with a purple and a blue. That's kind of unexpected. And this Hathor is amazing. It looks white, but it is like an iridescent green to go with some of those like deeper murky purples and greens. purples and greens. We're having a bit of a theme here, no? And number 5 from Saints, Angels, Sinners is their collab with Smink, the Follow Your Dreams palette. I've talked about this palette before on my channel, and I have filmed videos with some of these palettes, such as this one. So if I have any videos, I will leave them linked in the cards or down below. That way, if you want to see them more in action instead of just seeing them held up for you, you can do that and get some ideas for looks. Some of them maybe I've done swatches, but not always. I don't always do swatches for my videos. But this one, the color story, is just a juxtaposition to me. I like that it has this kind of like weird gray muted blue, but then we've got really bright shades like Figment, this kind of pinky purple, and we still have green and purple in this, but we've got pops of yellow in here. We've got blue, we've got orange, we've even got like maroon burgundy. So there's just a crazy amount of directions you could go with this palette, and I love the variety and I love the textures of the different formulas. The matte is the same formula throughout all of these, but there's several different shimmer formulas, and I love palettes that do have like varying textures in their shimmer. Next up from Sugar Drizzle, this is in number 4, is the Trick Roar Treat palette. I almost didn't get this one, you guys, but then it was on sale. I believe it was limited edition. It's a Halloween palette. At first I was just like, what do I do with it? But I think that's because when you see it head on, it looks a little hard to work with. But when you see it in person, you see that this one that kind of looks orange is more of a multi-chrome that shifts between like a red, an orange, a yellow, even a little green. And that makes it pair much better with the other browns, yellows, and greens. This one is a like kind of looks white, but then sometimes mint, but then sometimes a deeper green. So there are actually more combinations than you might think with this one, and the quality is really, really nice. Again, multiple different textures of shimmer formulas, even in that 6 pan. And I really had a great time playing with this and was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that this was gonna be this way. I'm so happy I have it. In number 3, I would be remiss if I did not include my Ensley Rain Cosmetics Midwinter Dream palette. You cannot get this one anymore, I'm sorry, but if you are in love with the formula and not necessarily the color story, they do have one available right now that's a different color story in the same size, I believe, and formula. I would really love to get that one, but I've decided to sign up for the trip through my workplace to pay and go as a chaperone to Japan next summer, and that on top of my wedding just means I really have to like tighten the belt even more money-wise. And I will say Ensley Rain, these size of palettes, not cheap, not cheap. But that is because of the quality of the duo and multi-chromes and shimmers that you are getting. Those pigments cost more to make. I've had a fabulous time with this palette, both formula and color story. I think I've raved about it every single month so far, and this month is no different, beyond the fact that it's not number 1. And I don't think that has anything to do with the quality. I think it's just now that I've had it in my collection for a bit, the new factor is starting to come off a little bit. And I have something new that I tried this month that is my number 1. Something not new in number 2 from Adept Cosmetics, I have a lot of Adept this month, is, side note, the Arrow inspired palette. I believe they were talking about possibly bringing this one out back, but here it is. Again, just the multi-chromes. A lot of these are a smoother formula, not necessarily their like flaky textured formula that is my favorite, but I've still really enjoyed the looks that I've done with this one, and I've liked pairing different palettes. Like there's one day I paired this one, and I think this one, maybe not, because I probably would have put it in the ranking then. It must have been that I paired this with an Anhydrous. I think that's what it was, and that's why that was in this ranking. But great Adept Cosmetics quality. Got to know some of their mattes a little bit better with this one and really just have enjoyed that. I've never watched the TV show Arrow, but it's on my watch list, and I have been getting through watching some shows this summer, guys. I finally finished what is it called? The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix. That's been on my radar for a while. Finally finished Lock and Key. My parents and I are watching Shadow and Bone right now. I'm watching AJ and the Queen right now, and I have a long watch list. So Arrow's definitely on there. What's on your watch list this summer? I would love to know in the comments. But let's get back to number one. And number one from Unearthly Cosmetics is the Unforeseen palette. Now, I got this as a reduced price like dud earlier in the year, and I had told you guys in my palettes of shame that I hadn't used this yet. Well, we used this one day, and oh my gosh, the texture and formula, it reminds me of the Adept formula that I just ranted and raved about and said how much I like. Every single one of them are those like textured shimmers. Now, I don't know which ones are supposed to have like the bad formula that I think there's an issue with hard panning or whatever, but I used Startling and Surprising, these two, and I didn't have any issues whatsoever. So I'm hoping, and I think I used a little bit of Dazed as well now that I'm thinking about it. So I know those are good, but I'm wondering if the issue is just with people using their fingers, because part of the reason I like this formula is because I'll use a flat brush to pick it up. So maybe I won't have an issue picking it up, but oh my goodness, the flip, the texture, the pigmentation, I did a look with just these two guys on the lid. Inner part of the lid, outer part of the lid, inner corner, and I think I put like a bronzer or a matte slight brown or something in the crease. It looked good. It looked great. It looked like I spent a lot of time. It was easy. Stunning. Stunning. Can't say enough good things about this one. If you see it, again, it's the Unforeseen palette. I recommend. I highly recommend, and that really makes me want to pull out the Complex palette. I haven't used this one yet, but I got it at the same time as that Unforeseen, and it's a much smoother feeling formula, but the shifts look really good. I don't know if I can show you in the mirror or not, probably not, some of the shifts and things, but that you can tell with the naked eye that they're quite shifty, even though they're a smoother formula. And I think those two together would look really nice too. So let me know if you want to see any looks with anything in this video, because I haven't filmed on camera with all of this stuff, even though I obviously did use it for my monthly ranking. Thanks so much if you made it all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again on the next one. Bye!